rich volcanic soil and proximity to the equator has made the country ideal for sugar cultivation. Other cash crops such as coffee and coconut are cultivated in large quantity and has hugely contributed to the gross domestic product of the country. Tourism is another major contributor to the country's economy, attracting tourists from Portugal and other European countries. Most notable tourist destinations in the country include the Ubud National Park, covering about 30% of the country with white and black sandy beaches and around 700 species of flora and fauna. The Bombom Island, off the northern coast of Principe, is a tourist resort and one of the must-visit places in the country because of its beauty. Famous for its humpback whale sighting and the magical Cascata Sao Nicola waterfall, another beautiful gift of nature. Interestingly, the islands of Sao Tome and Principe are home to a large number of birds. Yes, you will find the world's smallest ibis and the largest sunbirds in the country. It is indeed a bird-watching paradise. The country has a homogeneous culture, profoundly marked by centuries of blending elements of the dominant Roman Catholic Portuguese culture with various African influences. The kinship system is bilateral, although men traditionally are known to be polygamous. With the virtual absence of monogamous marriage, the conjugal system is characterized by a high incidence of multiple and serial customary unions and visiting relationships. South Tomians are known for Uswa and Sukuk readings, while Principe is home to the Betza beats. Portuguese ballroom may have played an integral part in the development of these readings and their associated dances. Kiloli, for instance, is a musical dance performance that tells a dramatic story of South Tomians. And the Danko Congo is similarly a combination of music, dance, and theater. The islands that make up Sao Tome and Principe are great for people who love nature, with about 30% of the country's territory covered by rainforest, and unlike mainland Africa, there is no threat of large dangerous animals or poisonous snakes. The only thing you have to look out for is mosquitoes. So, pick up that mosquito repellent and venture into the jungle as the smallest yet beautiful African country, and her people are welcoming and peaceful.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you. In your living room, office, and everywhere, anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs, and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, Go TV channel 91, Freeview channel 264, or live streaming via www.visiontv.co.uk. And to watch NTA International.
We must work together to reduce the unnecessary deaths attributable to malaria and ultimately improve the well-being of students.
With eliminating malaria in Nigeria, love will end malaria.
Anxiety has Ebonyi State records 32 suspected cases. Digital, scientific, and produce data that will guide planning within the context of global economic challenges.
fact 2023 population and housing census managers and edible
Our focus on Good Morning Nigeria today is mitigating flood.
The rains are here again with unprecedented force, and sadly, many parts of the country are experiencing the gloomy reality of flood, one prevalent natural disaster in Nigeria.
Truly, it will appear that the prediction made earlier might be coming true after all. And we call Jumai, the Minister of Water Resources, at the unveiling of the 2022 annual flood outlook in May, indicated that high flooding will hit 233 local government areas in 32 states and the FCT.
Yes, indeed. And NAMED, I think, started the warning signal since February. 2 months after that, the announcement, the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency says not less than 18 states are already experiencing flooding.
And the FCT Emergency Management Agency on Tuesday raised a red alert of the incoming heavy floods within the FCT and its neighboring state, Nasarawa. And indeed, that sounds to be very much timely.
Indeed, and FEMA says the impact based on weather forecast issued by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, expects moderate to heavy rainfall between the 16th of August and the 18th of August 2022. Meanwhile, NIMET has also alerted 17 states on excessive rainfall in the next coming weeks. The states are Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, Kano, Jigawa, Bauchi, Yobe, Gombe, Borno, and Adamawa, Oyo, Osun, Ondo, Ogun, and Lagos. Almost half of the states actually.
It's really affected increasingly with the link between flood and incidences and of course climate change. It's obvious now, and incidentally, Nigeria is not immune to these occurrences. In 2012, recall, Nigeria experienced its worst flooding, and then in recent history, and with total losses put at about $16.9 billion.
That's a huge amount,
Yeah,
and
sure.
despite tales of war in the past and the warning bells of caution by relevant authorities and government, it appears many states are not circumspect, as recent reports suggest.
And then barely 2 days ago, Monday to be specific, the Jigawa state government confirmed the death of 50 people following the menace of flood that ravaged communities in some parts of the state.
Sad there, and of course, this already paints an obvious picture. Hundreds displaced with untold hardship, and more excavating is the dilemma this challenge will pose to farmers who are already limited by insecurity and the threat to food sufficiency.
That's really sad, and experts are of the opinion that flooding constitutes a threat to Nigeria achieving the global sustainable, goals or development goals, I must say, by 2030. And now it will interest you to note and to know that of the 17 sustainable development goals, 9 are directly affected by, flood.
And from the optics, what lies ahead is a story of the unknown with clear indications that the predictions are not mere tales. But the question is, how can these be mitigated? Or are we late already in averting more disasters with the slow response of states to red alerts? This and more will form part of our conversation on Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Jumbo Yusuf. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Yusuf Nadabu Usman. You're welcome to the program coming to you live on the network service of the NTA. And we also serve our complimentary segments and dishes as usual, warm as they are. And for now, here is the morning news with Comfort Amadou. Good morning, Comfort. How is that?
Good morning, Nadabu and Jumai. Here's the morning news. Now, in what could be best described as a bold stand against malaria, a major public health challenge in the country, the federal government has firmly inaugurated the Nigerian End Malaria Council. President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony, emphasized that eliminating the disease remains a priority on his administration's agenda.
Additional advocacy and funding the Council will bring to the malaria control drive, we can anticipate a reduction in malaria burden that ensures that our children, pregnant women, indeed all Nigerians, are shielded from the disease.
And aside, one confirmed case of monkeypox virus recorded in Ebonyi State. 32 other persons are suspected to have the virus. The Commissioner for Health, Dr. Daniel Umezuruki, stated this while briefing on the efforts to curtail further spread of the disease in the state.
We recorded one case who had a travel history from Port Harcourt, River State, and stayed for some time, and they returned precisely on 7th of August. We have also enlisted all the contacts for contact trace. So far, we're monitoring them, no other person.
Now to politics. The All Progressives Congress said part of its reforms ahead of the 2023 general elections is to engage enlightened minds that have the capacity to desist electoral manipulations. The National Chairman Abdullahi Adamu says the party's professionals forum will play an important role in realizing this agenda.
Disinformation don't take us anywhere. Don't take us anywhere. Any government, no government in the world gets elected just to do bad, to do nothing. Nobody has an agenda to do nothing.
Put square pegs in square holes, and I believe within a very short time, the difference will be.
Drivers of the 2023 population and housing census in Nigeria are optimistic that the census data generated will come handy in addressing the country's development challenges. This was part of submissions at a 3-day retreat on the review of the 2022 trial census in Abuja.
This retreat, therefore, is a necessary first step towards strategizing for the conduct of the census that will truly be digital, scientific, and produce data that will guide planning within the context of global economic challenges.
Well, the UNICEF has developed the multiple cluster survey, which is a household survey to assist countries fill the gaps for monitoring human development indicators in the 2021, supported by the federal government to begin the 6th of such surveys in the country.
As we launch this report today, the quest to achieve our development goals and objectives is still the priority of government, particularly towards improving access to immunization for all our children as and when due.
Away from that, the federal government says it is committed to ensuring farmers have the appropriate incentives to guarantee continued participation in the farming business is unwavering. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, stated this at the inauguration of a 15-man technical committee for the implementation of the ban on foreigners purchasing agri-commodities from farm gates.
To facilitate signing of executive order by Mr. President specifying penalties and fines for violators.
Indeed, the full implementation of the FEC approval will not just ensure that farmers get commensurate value for the harvest.
That's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Jume and Nadabo after the break. Stay tuned.
I dodge am. Obi, what exactly are you dodging? COVID now. You are very funny. Is this how you have been dodging every cough and sneeze?
Yes, my guy. The thing don't serious.
Have you taken your COVID-19 vaccine?
Leave that matter for Matthias. I have heard plenty things like
Beggy, I have taken my complete dose of the vaccine, and as you can see, I am okay.
Why you come still dey wear mask?
To protect everyone from getting the virus. It's good to dey practice the protective measures as the vaccine work now to stop you from dying from the COVID-19 infection.
This your explanation makes sense.
Go and get your COVID-19 vaccine. It is available in most public health centers and some approved private hospitals.
COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Protect yourself and loved one. Take the vaccine. Stay alive. Let us all celebrate safely and responsibly.
Obi the Dodger.
Abejo, I'm going to get vaccinated now.
This message is from the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Information, NCDC, NPHCDA, and partners.
It has great taste.
Is there ahead?
Yummy, full of nourishment. Bodies and shots and
New Ovaltine 3-in-1. Smart choice with smart kids.
The housing solution we have developed is a multifaceted one. First, we have tried to lead a program to build what we think will be an acceptable and hopefully affordable housing based on surveys we did in 2015-2016 and construction that started in 2017. And that's going on in 24 states as the National Housing Program.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. The 157-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Railway is the first double-track standard gauge railway to be built in West Africa. The Mobolaji Johnson train station is a masterpiece, an infrastructure that is gradually becoming an iconic building in Lagos State. The modern facilities put the station on a world map of train stations. Likewise, other new train stations across the country built to world-class standards. The train and its convenience is indeed an admirable effort, with commendations from Nigerians.
This is a station that I want to commend the federal government for putting a beautiful face, empowering us in Lagos State, not only in economic and political arena.
I can say that I'm really impressed with the infrastructures in place. Kudos to the Minister of Transportations. Kudos to the federal government.
Truly, good things are coming out of Nigeria, and the federal government is deserving of all the applause.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Thanks for joining us. Nigeria to benefit from UK's new trading scheme expected to cut tariffs on hundreds of everyday products. Let's join Alika Opalachi Arua for details.
The International Trade Secretary, Anne-Maria Trabenya, has launched the new Developing Countries Trading Scheme, DCTS, which will extend tariff cuts to hundreds of products exported from developing countries, going further than the EU's generalized scheme of preferences. This is inclusive of the thousands of products which developing countries can already export to the UK duty-free, and will mean 99% of goods imported from Africa will enter the UK duty-free. It also means that a wide variety of products, from clothes and shoes to foods that are not widely produced in the UK, including olive oil and tomatoes, will benefit from lower or zero tariffs. She said that the Developing Countries Trading Scheme
ensures that British businesses can benefit from more than £750 million per year of reduced import costs, leading to more choice and lower costs for UK consumers to help with the cost of living. Gil Atkinson, acting British High Commission to Nigeria, said Nigeria will automatically benefit from enhanced preferences under the DCTS by saving about £500,000 of tariffs. The DCTS covers 65 countries across Africa, Asia, Oceania, and the Americas, including some of the poorest countries in the world. And taking a look at Tuesday tradings on the floor of the exchange. With business news, Alika Opanachi, Arua.
Well, many thanks for the business package there. Coming up next on Good Morning Nigeria is the newspaper review.
And our newspaper reviewer by two weeks in the studio, Woman Rubayo.
Thank you, Jume. Good morning. Good morning, Yusuf.
You're welcome, buddy.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Yeah. And we have some, some few papers here. The Sun, I think, and then the Punch newspaper for review this morning. Can we please start with the Sun and then see what we have up there on the front page of the Sun newspaper this morning, please? The Sun newspaper, please, can we have it on the screen so that our viewers can see exactly what we're talking about here. But before it comes up, let's be aware of the story there, the stories we have, and these include the one on the right-hand side of the main plot that is talking about Lalong of Plateau State. Lalong begs Catholic bishop over comment on Pope, says, "I'm not perfect, forgive my mistakes." Moving down a little bit down the, under the masthead, we have the story that says, rather it's about the big story on this paper this morning. It says PDP considers role for Wike in Atiku's campaign. And why others are, as Rivers governors camp soft pedals on Ayu, and then no party fighting yourself can win election, says Wike. To the right hand side of the picture there on the front page of the Sun, we have the following stories, and these include the one on page 27, that is, which says Nigeria will save 2 trillion naira from malaria elimination. That is coming from the President Buhari. And Angote says, or rather, Angote chairs council to eradicate the disease. On page 26 of the Sun, we have Diri laments 1,700 abandoned NDDC projects in Bayelsa. Urges Buhari to constitute a board. Details of that on page 26. And on page 28, Shekar's rumored defection to PDP, I beg your pardon, triggers panic in NNPP. Moving down, Electricity Union rejects FG's appeal and insists on commencement of strike. That's today. Details of that can be gotten on page 25. And on page 6, Presidency, Obi rules aggrieved PDP leaders and say rather meets party governors in Port Harcourt. Right under the picture there on the Sun newspaper, we have this story which says insecurity in Zamfara restricts motorcycles, orders shoot on sight as Lagos moves total ban. Details of that can be found on page 4 of the Sun newspaper. And finally, on page 6, we have Okowa storms Plateau to ginger PDP members. Jimmy?
We have the Punch newspaper next, and above the masthead, we have power generation falls by 503 megawatts. Workers threaten strike. You find the details on page 19. ASU FG meeting deadlocked. Lecturer stage walkout. You find the details on page 11. Bandits, IPOP members threats to 2023 elections. That's coming from Dambazo, page 11. Why 7 million diasporans, other Nigerians unregistered, as attributed to the INEC chairman, page 10. And by the side piece of the masthead of the Punch newspaper, U.S. group opposes Benin Brown's return to Nigeria. You find the details on page 8. And the headlines we have from the Punch newspaper: PDP crisis, Atiku, weakest men hold peace talks on Friday. With riders, a party that wants to win election cannot be involved in infighting. That's coming from Wike River State Governor. Atiku's camp wants meeting to hold in Abuja. Infantry meets delegation, said sources. If I were Atiku, I would take next flight to Port Harcourt and close this chapter. And the picture story you see there, returnees of 13 children, 144 Libya returnees arrived from Nigeria. You can see the picture itself tells the story. At the bottom plate of the Punch newspaper, Matawali bans motorcycles, orders shoot on site. Find details on page 28. Gunmen abduct Nasara Information Commissioner, demand 100 million naira ransom. Details on page 4 and 5. And 9 killed in Bauchi crash. FISC blames speeding. You find out on page 4. Why?
Thank you, Jume. Let's start with the story from the Economic and Financial Crime Commission that reveals that they have been able to rescue 3.5 billion for the NSI Nigeria Health Insurance Agency. Now it used to be Nigeria Health Insurance Scheme. These were monies that were supposed to have been posted into the treasury single account, but they were locking somewhere in commercial banks. And on 3 occasions, the first tranche that was recovered was about 1.5. The second tranche was also recovered, and the third tranche, bringing the total to about 3.5 billion that was recovered, being hidden by the agencies in commercial banks. The Electoral Commission and Border Commission of Kenya has declared Mr. Williams Ruto as president-elect. The opposition leader Raila Odinga has already indicated his objection and is heading to court to challenge that. But the latest information relating to Mr. William Ruto is that his daughter June Ruto is now betrothed and engaged to a Nigerian. Dr. Alexander Ezeagu got married, engaged to June Ruto in Nairobi. A delegation from Nigeria led by Mr. Osita Chidoka led the Nigerian delegation for the ceremony. Professor Ezeagu is a lecturer in a university in Qatar. So we have an in-law relationship with them in Kenya.
Go visa free.
Tragedy has stricken in Lagos. About 10 students who have just graduated from secondary school gathered at the Elegusi beach in Lekki to celebrate their graduation. Unfortunately, they were swimming. 4 of them got drowned. Well, you see the pressure, peer pressure. Children, all of them, yes, let's go, we want to celebrate. Not sure whether they can swim
or not.
And that is the consequence of it. Sadly, their ages are between ages 14 and 15. They were successful in the last West African School Certificate examination, and they wanted to celebrate. Unfortunately, we lost 4 of them. Nigerian Meteorological Agency has warned again that between now, August, and the month of October, there's going to be massive flood. And the states that have been identified are the states of the northwest states, as well as the northeast. And no state of the federation is spared. The heavier flood are identified in the northwest and the northeast. A milder one is identified with the areas of the southwest and Edo State. In the Bayelsa, Rivers, and the south-south, it is expected to be lower, not as severe as other places. The purpose of this warning is to alert the state and national emergency services to quickly begin to evacuate people from lower floodplains, and also, most importantly, to clear blocked drainages so that we don't have disaster. Already there have been massive flood destruction happening in Kano and Jigawa already. So those are the outlook for most of the stories here today. Except you have anything else?
Yes, I'm looking at these 30 children, 144 Libyan returnees arrived Nigeria.
Well, has been
I see somebody lying down. I think it's in gratitude to God for returning to Nigeria safe.
Yes.
You can see that on the tarmac itself, just lying down, I think he's happy to be home.
Yes.
If you're talking about this,
going on now, and there's an international agency that has undertaken that sometimes with the Nigerian Immigration Service to facilitate Nigerians who are stranded there. Most of them followed desert route, illegal routes into Libya, hoping to get into Europe. And when they are frustrated, many of them have been used as slave labor in Libya. And Libya, because of its crisis there, is patently unsafe. And this is, I think, about the 7th batch of persons that have been flown from Libya to Nigeria. There are times that even our other neighbors, some from Ghana, are even helped to come because they want to run away from the situation and they don't have access. They had to come with our Nigerian brothers, and from here they find their way back to their country.
Even here they harvest organs there.
Well,
they find you there as a slave.
Yes, okay.
Yes, naturally, this is source of war. It has been for quite a while, and I think the world is really worried about that. When you look at what is happening in the United States and, of course, in Europe and indeed Africa, where people just start rushing into other countries in search of pasture. But the fact still remains, and that's a fact that cannot be disputed. Talking about the sweetness of home. The sweetness of home. No matter what you do, you will never know the sweetness of home. Maybe when you try going out, and then you come back, and then maybe while there, or while on the way back, you now remember and make comparisons. No, my home is sweeter than any other home because it's often been sold by. But you will never know the sweetness and the goodness of your own mother's, soup until when you taste the neighbor's soup. No matter how the aroma is in the air, by the time you taste it and then come back home, you now know that your mother has been a very good cook. The aroma could be there, but really the fact still remains that even if it's sweet, you cannot get enough. That's one. And number two, it may not be as sweet as you think it is because it's just the aroma in the air. And that's what's happening to all these, those fleeing their countries, especially from Nigeria here. As she said, when you look at what they spend also in moving out to anywhere else, and then quantify that, and then use it here, all right? Invest it here, start some business. I mean, it's not going to be, a sad story no matter what happens because it's not a small amount of money. With 500,000 naira in Nigeria, can start a good business.
It's illegal.
Most more than that, they pay millions.
Most of the time, they are fooled by agents who fool them that there is a life better outside there. And it costs them between 400 to 500,000, which they pay because they don't have the money. They become slave to those agents who take them there. And they are forced into labor to pay for several years before they will get their freedom, even in a foreign land. Unfortunately, most of the female victims are forced into prostitution to pay for the cost of getting them across. Many of them in the process have died across the Sahara.
Also, FG meeting deadlocked.
Well, the meeting was held at the National Universities Commission. The delegation of the Academic Staff Union was there. That of the federal government was led by Professor Nimi Briggs. The meeting started about 12 and ended about, I think, 3 hours later. So far, there has not been any pronouncement, but the papers are speculating that the meeting was deadlocked. But the spokesman for the ministry indicated that the minister will provide a statement between Wednesday, today, and tomorrow, Thursday, and there will be a statement. But the expectation of everyone is that the 7-point demands of the Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities, some of them at least will be met. And one paper is actually reporting that the proposal for University Transparency Accounting System has now been accepted. If that is true, it will go a long way in assuaging their anxieties about IPPIS. But we are not too sure about the other 6 demands of ASU, to what extent they've been able to narrow the differences and narrow the gap between their areas of agreement.
Indeed.
But certainly, if we must move forward from here, there has to be concessions.
There have to be 7 out of 13. I think it's a good bargain. I think the matter would help us, and I think the remaining 6 is not going to be that left untouched, as you say. There should be some, concessions, some bargains on the 6 if it's not met. And I think it's high time we start, putting more prayers now into the whole issue, because there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Most likely, this our children, our words, will be going back to school very soon. Let's hope so.
As of today, the university have been closed for 184 days.
6 months, yes. For God's sake, 6 months.
That's sad. And before, the whole country will go dark. As
last year, for 9 months, the whole academic year.
Let's talk about the strike in the power sector.
We talked about that yesterday here. I think we said we look at why they wanted to go on strike. Really, it sounded as if well, let's just wait and see. But the fact still remains that we cannot, we don't have the luxury, I must say, of any other strike anymore. Especially talking about light. If the students are at home and there's no light, what kind of tragedy would that be?
Well, yesterday the perspective we had was that there were principal officers who were due to be promoted to assistant general manager, and there was a problem, and because of that there was a strike. But the information this morning indicated that there have been several persons who are old and their salaries have not been paid since the transition from Power Holding Company of Nigeria to Transmission Company of Nigeria. Yeah. So there are so many of these, but the indication is that the Honorable Minister for Power is concerned about this, and he's intervening and he's appealing that we should not plunge the nation into darkness, and something will have to be done about it, and that has to be done quickly, because we are becoming a nation of strikes, a nation of strike happy. Already in Abuja, the Abuja Environmental Protection Board is also declaring strike,
and tensions are high,
and even with the flood in the something like that.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Bayo. It's been a good discussion with you this morning. At least we've gotten some insights into what some of the papers
Thank you too.
Hope we're going to see you again tomorrow. It's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break now, and the program continues in a while. Stay with us.
You clean your teeth every morning, but that fresh breath feeling just doesn't last. The answer? Easy. You keep your teeth strong and healthy, and give your mouth long-lasting fresh breath with new Oral-B 2-in-1 toothpaste. It helps strengthen your teeth and gives you long-lasting fresh breath.
So fresh, feel fresh, and feel fresh.
Stay strong, stay fresh. New Oral-B toothpaste for strong teeth with long-lasting fresh breath.
The counsel of our fathers.
We urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youth, let's build our nation together. Dialogue, empathy, love and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks, However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Okay. Well, welcome back, and to begin our conversation, let's take this background report by Abdul Salam Jibril.
Flood knows no boundary. It affects every part of the world. Though it's a natural disaster, but it can be mitigated. It has always been an annual incident where countless of property, including human lives, are lost. With the Nigerian Meteorological Agency giving early warnings and predictions, the aftermath of torrents is still distressing. Expectedly, Nigeria has experienced flash flood in Dazo, Bauchi State, where people have continued to count losses after a flood in July. So pathetic is the flood at 19th Street in Benin, Edo State, which ravaged an orphanage. Also in July, some communities around Samia Bridge, bordering Kano and Jigawa states, became apprehensive after the Kano-Kari-Maiduguri highway was cut off by flood, while Jigawa state has also been in the news lately. The coastal city of Lagos State is also at the receiving end after unabated rainfalls. With different agencies of government assigned to carry out different functions to mitigate flood, people are still left in pitiable circumstance after occurrence. What needs to be done to reduce the effects of flood? Are the people so recalcitrant that they do not heed to warnings? These and other perspectives are what guests will analyze on Good Morning Nigeria.
We are discussing mitigating flood in Nigeria this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. And to, do justice, I must say, to this topic, we have some gentlemen right here in the studio. And then it's my pleasure to, welcome Engineer Clement Inze, the Director General, Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency, NISA. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you very much. Also here is Dr. Onimode Abdullahi Bandele. He is the Director of Special Duties of National Emergency or Nigerian Emergency Management Agency. It's a pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
And we also have Idris Abbas, he's Director General FCT Emergency Management Agency. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Right, welcome once again, gentlemen. We are supposed to be having two other guys from, some from the States, but all the same, as we are with their connection on Zoom, let's get started and then see how good or bad the situation is and what exactly needs to be done about flooding in Nigeria. The time is now, and of course, the activity is ongoing. NIMET is out there with so many predictions much earlier. And we're glad to have the NIMET DJ right here in the studio who will shed more light on that. Engineer Clement, is it? It's everything now is on your table. You've said it. Some are happening, some are not happening, some are still coming to happen. Some will happen, and then there you are. It's a negative story or true. What's really happening?
Frankly speaking, it's quite disheartening. And the tempo it is progressing is worrisome. Talk about the local government areas in Nigeria or the states that have been affected so far. And what's going by our prediction we still expect to happen in the course of the year. By our prediction, we said that no less than 32 states will be heavily impacted, what we call highly probable flood incidents, with about 233 local government areas in Nigeria. And additional 121 local government areas cutting across 35 states and the FCT. Also, another degree of flooding. But then, in the months of July, August, September, which is usually the peak of flooding in Nigeria, we expect more to happen. Incidentally and regrettably anyway, it has been so much devastation everywhere. And it's mainly urban flooding that we are experiencing so far. Urban flooding, aggravated by local rainfall of high intensity and longer duration. Then blocked drainages within the system, within the cities or the locations. Like what happened, I think about 2 days ago, almost Abuja had almost a 24-hour rainfall. No matter the kind of maybe towards the tail end, it was reducing, but it almost rained all day long. And we're yet to enter when the river flooding will join the race.
Every year we bring you here to talk about
honestly
mitigated flood in Nigeria, and it's like we are calling death knell all the time. I'm still going to stay with you. Experts are saying there should be a flood management policy in Nigeria. What's your thought on that?
Well, that could be possible, but look, we keep saying we already have enough structures, agencies already on ground. There is no state in Nigeria that doesn't have town planning authority. In the city we call it Development Control Department. There is no state in Nigeria that doesn't have a state Minister of Environment, state Minister of Water Resources, and there could be additional agencies addressing the issues of around the environment. At the federal level, 2 major agencies have been talking, giving prediction. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency, and all this information being read out from these 2 agencies are taken down to the states. What else do you expect to, what should one expect? To have more agencies again? Well, I don't know. The challenge is out of non-implementation, going to work. The actions we see when the flooding has taken place, if half of such are dedicated to do mitigation or to do certain things ahead of time, we won't be seeing what we are seeing at the peak of flooding. When we see this governor has relocated from here to social place, that's when disaster has occurred, or social place has fallen. It shouldn't be so. In advanced climes, once forecasting agencies give their prediction, you run with it. Even individuals are at their own levels too. So that's my position on that. We already have structures, regulations, regulatory bodies so far on the ground that they are working. We will see the impact.
And one of these agencies is the National Emergency Management Agency, and who is right here there being represented by Dr. Onimode Abdullahi Bandele. He is the Director of Special Duties. Welcome once again. Let's look at this issue of, agency work and function, and of course, against the background of predictions being made about disasters in this country, most especially talking about flood. It's been there for quite a while, and I think that's one of the mandates, one of the reasons behind the creation or the establishment of this agency, to see how to assist those who happen to be victims of such disasters, especially flood, and if need be, advise government appropriately about how to curb and reduce or avoid, or at the end of the day, halt such assistance through having them or having these disasters not really happening. It's a season of disaster, it's a season of flooding, and of course, your agency must be on the red alert, talking about what to do and what not to do. How worried are you about the situation at the moment?
Thank you very much. I will start from where the DGS stopped. But these predictions came pretty early. NEMA as an organization, we had a technical session. where these predictions were properly looked at by experts, and the outcome of that prediction was disseminated to states using our zonal, territorial, and operation offices. Let me point out this too, that it's unfortunate that we see disaster management in Nigeria as top bottom. It's supposed to be bottom top, because these disasters we're talking about happen in a locality. This locality belongs to local government. That local government is an integral part of a state. So when these predictions are taken to states, our expectation is that this thing should be cascaded to the end users. Like Dr. Engineer said, what we're witnessing now is urban flooding. I wonder what will happen when the rivers come up with volumes of water. What are we saying? State government will form an integral part of disaster management. It's not enough to get this prediction and keep them on the shelf. Somebody somewhere has to be responsible for ensuring that true implementation is carried out. And in the aftermath of what is happening right now, Nana is really worried. Worried in the sense that it has become an annual festival. That, yes, people just wait on federal government. They will bring food, they will bring non-food items, they will bring building materials. This money that is channeled into providing this relief material could as well be used for other things. And one major thing I see that is still wrong that we must address is the issue of proper waste management system. Even when government provide bills, Nigerians are in the habit of taking pleasure in dropping this waste along the road and in the drainages. We do say, if water comes, it will help us to take it away. No. If you are upstream and you dump your refuse, the man downstream is going to be affected. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is the agency started with preparedness. We are waiting for a response. We are in the season of response now. While we are doing this response, mitigation activity too are going on. So that is
when you talk about mitigation activities, and that is why we are here this morning, mitigating flood in Nigeria. What are the mitigating activities you've embarked upon or you are on at the moment?
Mitigation starts from even early warning, which we got from NIMET and NISA. Disseminating this to end users, not just the locals. It cut across all spheres of our economy. Transportation, aviation, agriculture, water resources, name it. It is expected that people will take action, and for NEMA what we have done is to strengthen our collaboration with stakeholders to ensure that messages on these predictions get to the states, to ensure that the populace are well enlightened and educated on the consequences of this kind of disaster when it does happen.
Okay, thank you for opening comments there, and you said all the reports should not be kept on the shelf because implementation must be carried out. I'm coming to Idris Abbas, Director General, FCT Emergency Management Agency. Abuja is on red alert. How prepared are you for any eventuality?
Thank you very much. I would like to go back to your first question that you asked, Engineer Ize, about the strategic management of flooding. And I think I will go with that because with all the agencies, it requires proper coordination of all the stakeholders. The problem we are having is that we have so many agencies that are involved in flood management, in the development and layout of a city, but they are not involved in the management of flood. And if that happens, definitely we are going to have problems.
And in the case of FCT, we have what is that strategic team on flood management, which is under the supervision of the executive secretary of the FCDA. And that has been pulled, the membership has been pulled from different stakeholders, irrespective of what you do. As far as we are concerned, as long as you are a stakeholder in the FCT, you have something to do to either reduce or add to what we are doing. And that has helped us greatly this year. If you look at the FCT today, with the persistent rainfall, you have not heard of any bad flood in the FCT since the beginning. I know at the earliest when we had rain in April, which was not supposed to come to FCT that time, because it was through River Kabusa, we had some flood around Lokogoma. But all what we did was that we carried out an assessment of all the flood-prone areas, marked them, and then define why we had flood last year, and then quickly remove those obstructions. And luckily, again, the Honorable Minister of the FCT has given express approval that anything that is becoming a stumbling block for water to pass, we should remove it. As long as you build illegally, as long as you erect anything illegally, we are going to remove it without any notice. And then if you think you have a court, let's meet at the court, because he has vowed not to allow any life to be lost as a result of that negligence or a lack of following the due process by the residents of the FCT. And that is exactly what we are doing. That is why on daily basis we are pulling down structures. And apart from that, if we pull down any structure built on the waterways, you are going to bear the cost of that removal, and we are going to be prosecuted. The Urban and Regional Planning Law has allowed that, and even if it has not allowed that, we are, as FCT, allowed to borrow law from even Lagos and come and apply it here for the safety of the residents of the FCT. That is one advantage that we have, other state doesn't have, and we have to leverage and make very good use of that. And that is exactly what we are doing on daily basis. Apart from that, we are sensitizing the public, because we believe the public need to be educated. They need to know what to do before the flooding, during the flooding, and after the flooding. And this is what we are doing. And we are not sparing anybody. Those who have built on the waterways, we have called them and we have told them, and we are going to remove it. They don't need any notice, because anybody who erected building any structure illegally, you don't need to give him her notice. So it's going to be pulled down. Then if you have any reason why that should not be pulled down, you can go to the court. Then we meet there. So these are the things that we're doing. And like I said, sensitizing the public is one key aspect that we believe is really helping us, because most times people don't know that they need to do certain things before another thing. So, but now they are now getting used to it, and we are showing them live videos of events. Initially, we used to borrow videos from America and all this, but now we have live videos. If you are in doubt, go to Dede. If you are in doubt, go to Kohali. If you are in doubt, go to Kubwa. It's live. You will go there, you interact with the people who were affected, and they will tell you, yes, we were affected by flood and this and that. So you will know that it's real. Majorly, most of the problems that we are having is people running or driving in a running water. These are the major problem that we have in the city,
which the FRSC have warned against.
Every day we have jingles, we have been showing videos of even a trailer loaded that water carried away, so it can, with your small car you can go. And most of the deaths in the FCT were as a result of that kind of attitude. So we are appealing to the residents of the FCT to obey. Just flash flooding for 10 to 15 minutes, it will pass, and then you will now drive away to go to your work or to go to your home. So these are the things that we are putting in place, and we are engaging the communities with our local volunteers, with our local divers, and with all our responders, which we believe that They speak the language of the dialect of their communities, and that is the best way to communicate to the community and get this result.
Oh, that's really heartwarming, Idris Abbas, and of course, it is because when you look back a little bit, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it rained ceaselessly throughout the FCT and some other states and neighboring towns and cities. And one would think that at least knowing what FCT is, looking at the history last year, last 2 years, there will be some flooding, but we didn't hear much of that. That's a great work. Congratulations for that. And we'll come back to the issue of collaboration here, because you may sound, you're not the spokesman for the states, but you are part of the states, I must say. In the meantime, we have Hamza Mohammed, the Senior Special Assistant Community and Social Inclusion, who is also the Chairman, Jigawa State Flood Control Committee, joining us from Bazuma, I must say. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Morning.
Let's hear the story now. You're right here. We've been waiting for you. For the past 1 week or so, it's been Jigawa in the news talking about flooding. And it's been not a good story, I must say, because there are lives lost, property destroyed, infrastructure, wrecked away by this disaster. How bad has been the situation in your state, and what efforts are being made really to a sort of, curtail further occurrence?
Thank you very much. Very good morning to you all. We are aware that our state we are experiencing flooding, but due to the high level of rainfall in the state. In the first August of this year 2022, there is a heavy rainfall in the state, which lasted for about 30 hours, which never actually of the high level of the rainfall is about 175 millimeter. I think our meteorological station has made it on the effort in the state. And there was always experiencing that flood. The rest of the flood in the Niger state are different. One is because of the heavy rainfall in the area, and the second one is the flood that come through the river channel as a result of the public capacity of that dams we have in Kano State. We have two dams in Kano State. One is the dam, Samaria dam, and the that's the dam. One is the capacity reached maximum capacity, so the water started filling out. And when the approach of Abuja, they need to send the water to the release of water, which that release of water resulted in the high flooding and the continuous damages of structures, houses, and even the loss of life, and the farmland also destroyed as a result of this flooding in our state. And the government of the state is working tirelessly, together with all stakeholders.
Hamza Mohammed, we seem to be having a problem with your audio. It's not very clear. It's cracking. Can you please work on your audio so that when you get back to us, we can really get the drift of what the message you're trying to pass across? Yes, you're welcome back. We've just gone to Jigawa and he's talking. We're not really hearing him, but some subnationals, like you said earlier, they seem to be resting on their oars despite relevant agency warning year in, year out. 50 people have lost their lives in Jigawa now. It's a very, very sad story. What kind of synergy do you have with states, and how effective is your line of communication with them?
Sorry, my agency, all of it we do in the advisory level. Once we do a prediction, the details of that prediction is sent to each state we extract what belongs or what affects each state and forward to each of the states, to their state governors. So each state governor is aware from our report that these are the details of the prediction for your own state. It's really a few states that respond to us. Jigawa is one of them. I can say a bit about Jigawa. I can say much about Kebbi State. Anambra also. That we want to hear from us. Even after they have received our information, they want to know further updates. As we speak, somebody at a very high level in Bayelsa State is asking question. What are we expecting in Bayelsa? So in fact, he was even giving me the particular day, not just making a blanket prediction. This is what we expect. So we try the best we can at our own level to collaborate with the states. But the response is not commensurate with the effort we make. For instance, before we go on air, before the onset of flooding, we invite the states. The Honorable Minister of Water Resources, always sends letters to all the governors, inviting them or their representatives to be available. And in those letters, it always listed these are the local government areas in your state that should watch out for flooding. These are the things you should begin to do, if not yet in place already. But to our dismay, like I said earlier, the response from the states is not in tandem with the quantum of information we give to them. So it's a bit painful, regrettable, but it is at the peak of flooding like this, we begin to see actions at the state levels, like the Onumo they mentioned. So much will be spent at this time. Many lives have been lost. Instead of directing those energies or resources before the onset of flooding, it is not done. So at our side, we try much we can to collaborate with the states. There's a good collaboration between us, the agency, and the other stakeholders like NIMET, NEMA. The FCT is there. I forgot to mention even the executive secretary of the FCDA. We speak from time to time. This is the DG of FEMA here, FCT Management Agency. So we do a lot. We even work with NOA to help us. Since we have offices in the 774 AGS, please help us send the messages down. But it is the response or the action at the state levels that is the problem.
Well, Engineer Clement Simpson, I must really sympathize with you having to be doing one thing on and on and on for years.
Thank you.
And not really getting the results you require. And unfortunately, it doesn't just stop there. Lives, some property are being lost on and on. It's painful, really. We'll get back to that issue later on and then see what can be done about the subnationals in this regard. Let's go back to, Jigawa or Duce, I must say, and then hear much more from, Hamza Mohammed, who was speaking to us earlier on but had a poor audio, we have bad audio now. I think his voice can be heard so much. Can we hear you very much loud and clear now? And then if you can hear us, we really want to hear more about what you were saying earlier, the situation in Jigawa, how pathetic and bad it is, and what the government is doing about it.
Thank you so much. The situation in Jigawa State about the issue of flooding is very bad, and we experienced a heavy rainfall this August from 1st to 2nd of about 30 hours. So the rainfall distracted many farmlands, caused the loss of lives and properties in the state, which it is very tragedy to the people of Jigawa State. And the heavy rainfall this time, it reached the maximum of about 175 millimeter as measured by our meteorological station in the state, which people lose observed that it takes almost over 30 years without experiencing such kind of heavy rainfall. The second is the flooding that come from the dams of Tiga, where the the peoples from Hadez Jama Are has wrote a letter to the government of Jigawa State for the release of water. This release of water makes the river to become the water become so to come in a high level and high volume, which cause a serious problem for the damages of thousands of hectares in the state. From what we observe during our visit, we see a lot of farmlands across the state. Over 70,000 hectares now has been submerged with water, and almost 65% of the total Padama lands has been destroyed, which it may expect that the Jigawa state may experience a shortage of food during this season as a result of this heavy rainfall and that flooding from the dam release. This is the current situation we are here in Jigawa state. But His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Jigawa State, Muhammad Badr Abubakar, has constituted the committee in order to assess the level of damages and to propose solutions that will prevent the further occurrence of that flooding in the state. So we are working effectively to see the extent of the flood damages and to see how best the government will come up to support the communities that are affected with such kind of flooding. One, we have IDP centers that the government is supporting, and the number two, the government of Jigawa State also liaise with the Hadith Jama'ar officials and working to see how best we can address the menace that cause the flooding. One, we have so many, in addition, we have so many problems along the waterways. One is the siltation at the upstream of the state. Second is the diversion of the river. The diversion is of two kinds. One, there is a natural diversion, and the second is artificial diversion. That is a human induced. And at the downstream of the state, we have the infestation of typhoid grass that block the waterways and cause the flooding. With these instances, His Excellency has already procured 2 numbers of boogie excavator machines, and the machines is now ready in the state, and we are giving training to the operators on how to operate the machine in order to work on the river, to desilt and remove all the aquatic weeds, and to remove all such sediment that block the river in order to allow the free flow of the water from up to downstream. This may eventually really going to mitigate the level of flooding to give more access of flowing water downstream.
If I may stay with you for a while, Hamza Mohammed, Jigawa State has been warned, just like so many states in this country, about the flood issue this year. The predictions have been there, and so many states have been told about how bad it is going to be for them by the time it rains, and that's as far back as February or March or thereabout. And even before then, last year and a couple of years ago, all these warnings have been sent out before the rain started. But unfortunately, it's so massive across the subnationals, and most especially in Jigawa State and some other states. These warnings are not so much heeded, and that causes the kind of calamity we have on our hands right now. I don't know, haven't you looked at this from a positive point of view when the predictions are being poured out by NAMET?
Yes, we received the letter early this year from the NEMA and the NIMET after the stakeholders meeting with National Hydrological Service in Abuja. The letter has come to Jigawa State indicating the changes of the climate and the expectation of reduction of the flooding this year. His Excellency constituted the committee, as I said earlier. We are working to see how best we can work to prevent the flooding in the state. So we have the preventive measures, and we also have the proactive measures when it happens. So one of the preventive measures we are taking, we started visiting the areas were affected last year and see the level and the extent of the damages and see how best we can work to address the problem. One, we are working with machines, heavy equipment in order to make an embankment dike at the critical areas where the flooding is affecting the community. And the second, we are mobilizing the communities along the waterways to have a common work and to support them with all necessary logistics that they can be able to work together with the government and the community to address the problems through making a manual embankment where the machine cannot reach. So after that, we also have working together hand in hand with the advice of Hadizama River Basin and the National Water Research Institute to see how best we can work to find out the solution, a lasting solution for the dredging of the river. That is why the government of Jigawa State has procured, as I said earlier, 2 numbers 1 boogie excavators. That amphibious excavators are now in Jigawa State, and it will start working soon to see how we can remove all the siltation. So the major challenges in the course of this flooding in Jigawa State is the siltation. So the main canal of the river is so narrow. So when the water comes in a high volume, so that it will spread all over, destroy farmland, destroy houses, and even prostrate the people or communities living along the river waterways. So the measures have been taken by the government to see how we can address and to remove all that sediment by expanding the river on its deeps width to ensure both sides embankment, so that when the water comes, more especially when the dams open or release their water, so that the water can flow smoothly up to downstream without being straight. So we are working we are working seriously on that, and we are working together with the experts. And even today, there is a committee that is working at Hadezi Jama'ari together with the expert in that river basin, because Hadezi Jama'ari is the custodian of the river, so that we are working together with them to give us all possible advice and even to supervise the way we are going to conduct the dredging, to remove and to open where there is problems, more especially at the downstream where the infestation of tapa grass is so big, so that we are working to remove it, so that when we succeed in such kind of working to remove the tapa grass, we believe in a years coming, so that the flood will reduce to the maximum level, so that the flooding will be reduced. But you can know that after the water release from the dam, there is a heavy rainfall. The heavy rainfall is something natural from the Almighty God, so that you cannot predict or determine the content of the water that will come down as it comes this year, before the flooding that usually come from the dam. The heavy rainfall destroy most of our farmland.
If I may come in there, Hamza Mohammed, we're going to stay with you so that we can make the best use of your Zoom network before we let you go and join other guests in the studio. Rain is a natural phenomenon, and year in, year out, it takes a year before the next rain comes, and preparation, people assume, should be in process before the rains comes. You've talked about shortages of food. You might have food insufficiency in your state due to the farmlands being flooded by water. My question is, how have you been able to educate your farmers on how to protect and take, steps into improving and protecting their farms towards food sufficiency? And how prepared are you to cushion the effect of this devastating disaster that has come to Jigawa? We do condole with you over the loss of lives during the few days that just passed, but it takes a year for you to prepare all this. Where did you start and how far have you gone?
Thank you. There is, after receiving this message for the prediction of expected flooding in the state, there is measures taken by the government. One is the sensitization, public sensitization within groups, most especially the groups that are living along the river line. So the sensitization are conducted, more especially those who are living to be on alert, to avoid making artificial canals along the river route, to be away from making all structures in the flood areas, and also the government take actions. Whosoever make that artificial dredging, the action must be taken against them, and the government will not leave such kind of people that are creating artificial channels, because it is one of the acts in the water law that nobody is going to create channels that is not an initial channel. So we are making all possible ways for making sensitization in our communities. And the government is also working, most especially in the urban cities, to have a drainages, culverts, and provide the ways that water, if it comes, it will run without creating problems to us, for communities in the state.
Thank you so much, Hamza Mohammed. We'll go back to you later on. Let's now come back to the studio and then hear some more views about how to mitigate flood in Nigeria. Dr. Onimode, emergency management, it's an issue that deals with things that happen, they're not planned and they happen. And when they happen, you start to address it, as it were, with your own efforts and your own mandate. But nonetheless, these are things that have been occurring year in, year out. As you earlier pointed out in your opening salvo, you said, people are just there waiting. When it happens, then maybe the festival will start, the festival of relief distribution, and there we are. The issue of relief distribution, sometimes some people argue that government coming in with relief year in, year out may be a contributory factor to the prevalence of, this hardship in the sense that people will not want to move away from where the disaster is, because they know that whenever there is a disaster and the season is going to come, some other things are going to come from the government. I have an instance here. Let me just be specific. In Adamawa City, where I come from, as a junior reporter then in Adamawa Television Corporation, Yola, there is a place called Loco. And that place is a flood-prone area. It's a very busy area, very commercial area. And every year, this settlement is being displaced by flood. And we've been trying to get them to leave that place and maybe get them resettled somewhere, which the state government did, and, provided resettlement for them and constructed houses for them, but they refused to move. The questions have been, why are you staying there? Two answers always come up. One, this is our ancestral land. Yeah. We will not leave this place because this is where our Chibia, if I may call it in Hausa, our Niger has been buried. Yeah. So these are grandfather's land. Number two, we don't know what we are going to meet wherever we are going to go. Just like I asked somebody sometimes, and he answered me by asking me another question, that is, why do people don't want to die? And I said, why? He said, because we don't know what we are going to meet. He said that paradise or hell. But if we're sure of what we are going to meet, we are going to go there. So how have we been looking at this kind of thinking and perception in view of the fact that Nigerians are losing a lot of money in relief materials to these people who have refused, I'm sorry to use that strong word, who have refused to really adhere or heed to warnings before the disaster falls?
Thank you very much. I really want to see provision of relief material as one of the reasons why people refuse to leave. Like I said, NEMA is not an enforcement agency. Ours is one to coordinate resources, pass information to the public, and I will still impress on Nigerians that the state government have a major role to play in resettling or settling people that are affected by flood. Like the scenario you just gave, we can achieve a lot by persuasion to those people living in flood-prone area. You relocate them from that area and you educate them that when the growing season starts, they can go back to their farmland. Mm-hmm. But this you must do too by providing early maturing crops, improve a crop of improved variety, such that they can always get their crops to the field, get it harvested before the flooding comes. You see, unfortunately, most of us don't know that when flooding occurs, it is even blessing in disguise if you do the needful. You move the people up to to higher ground. They come to do their farming at the early onset of the rain. They do early harvest. When the rain comes, it brings along with it alluvial soil that you can use to do a second stream of farming.
Yes.
So what we're advocating and we're appealing to state is, please let's appeal to people that live in flood-prone communities and educate them. The idea is we must educate them. Ancestral wells, their attachment by Africans to where they were born. But if we educate them and we tell them the safety implication of abiding by the advice of government, I think it will go a long way to help our situation in Nigeria.
Okay, let me come to Idris Abbas. People are saying that, experts actually are saying that Abuja should not have any flood because it is a well-planned city. Now you're talking about demolishing structures that are on the waterways, and experts are also saying that the lack of relevant legal laws and policy frameworks is an indication of low importance given to controlling and managing flooding in Nigeria, especially in a place like Abuja, which is a well-planned city. Educating the people itself, what kind of means or conduit are you using to educate these people? And if there's a legal framework, who is selling the land to these people who build on the waterways? Is it just the person that builds on the waterways that is now punished? Or should the people selling the land to them be brought into the picture too?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, you are right to say that Abuja is well planned. I always say over 40 years ago, those who plan Abuja did not expect that there is going to be climate change, but they were able to really earmark the flood-prone areas in the FCT, green areas, and what have you. They have done that. Our main problem in the FCT is attitudinal. People refuse to go through the legal means of really getting or acquiring land, and then having gotten the land, also there are structural measures that need to be taken by the authority before you start building. There is engineering infrastructure. There's no land, no way you should allocate any land. That's even the Honorable Minister, to allocate a land without engineering infrastructure. And that has been violated in the past, to be honest with you. But now, that is why some people are looking at the Honorable Minister as if he doesn't want to give land. But not because he doesn't want to give land, but what is the land to give? You are seeing land, but there is no engineering infrastructure. If that land is allocated, it's going to be a problem to FCT. And these are the problems that we had at Lokogoma. Lokogoma lacks engineering infrastructure. People built indiscriminately. There was no waterway. There was no flood-prone area. There was no green area. Everybody built anyhow he or she likes. And that was why we had problem. You remember in 2018, we had to pull down over 200 houses for us to have some kind of relief in that area. So, and that is continuing as well. So, the laws are there. And like I said, we are privileged to borrow any law from anywhere by virtue of the Federal Capital Territory, that because since laws are just imagined, so we can borrow from Niger, we can borrow from Kaduna and come and apply here. So we have all the wherewithal to really control this. But the major thing is we are emphasizing on both structural and non-structural measures. These are the issues that we are tackling. And part of the structural measures are those ones that are building indiscriminately. And we have to make sure that we identify those areas. And then another thing is there were some development that were did in the past. And because of the peculiarities of that time, you can see that because the water volume was not high, so you can see just a box culvert. Now, we are changing the box culvert to river bridges, so that at least it will accommodate the runoff water, and that has been giving us a lot of sanity in the city. So the box culvert will not be able to contain the water. Now it has been expanded to river bridge, and that will now give you access free flow of water. This is what we have been doing, and also we are opening up those areas that are cake, clogged areas where it's narrowed. At least we expand waterways so that the water can flow within the ways instead of overflowing, and that has also helped structurally to really ease out the problem of overflowing. Flooding in the FCT. So with the constant sensitization that we're doing, and then also monitoring the climate change, because you can't be doing things at the same time every year and we are not getting results. Because the climate is changing, we also have to change our strategy. Our adaptation has to change, our mitigation has to change, and our response also has to change. And these are the areas that we focus, looking at what happened this year, what happened last year. Yes, we understudied last year to be able to really apply this year to protect and control flooding for this year. And so this year, what type of change do we have? The scenario. If we look at the persistent rainfall that we are having, now we have a forecast up to tomorrow, Thursday, issued by NIMET from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So probably by Friday, they will issue Friday, Saturday, Sunday again. We haven't had that last year. So that means there are changes in the weather situation that we live. So if you want to apply the same mitigation factors that you did last year, or the adaptation, or the response, then you are going to fail. Definitely you are going to fail. My responders, my response team have been on alert 24/7 throughout the weekends that was predicted, and it rained heavily, so they don't have any space. So if they said they will remain at home until when it happens before they come out, then we are going to fail. So these are the strategies that we need to all over this to adopt so that we can move with the time. And while moving with the time, we should be able to move to the right direction and then be able to apply those measures to nip it in the bud. If we allow the flood to occur before we can now start giving out relief, and we don't, in the FCT Emergency Management Agency, we emphasize relief is the last resort. What we are tackling is to ensure that we have taken the structural measures, ensure that there was no flood, no displacement, and then if it happens, then we will have some just handful to contain, and that will not be too much.
Talking about sensitization, when you get this alert, how do you alert the public itself?
So definitely, immediately we get the alert. We have, like I said, we have our volunteers, we have our vanguards, we have our other responders in the localities. Initially, before COVID, we used to go into town halls meetings, but now we have to de-emphasize that, and then we have included town criers into our own book, and we have to write and tell the town crier what he will tell the public. And it's going to be raining persistently for the next 3 days, and these are the measures that you're supposed to take. These are things that you are not supposed to do, especially indiscriminate dumping of refuse and the drainages. These are the issues that we normally have that trigger flooding anywhere in the city.
Abuja or FCT is an example of an urban state, if I may call it so, because more than 70% of inhabitants in Abuja are, enlightened and educated people, and of course having to reach them may not be so much of a difficulty. So we want to take and look at you as an example of an urban state. And quickly before we go on a break, can you tell us maybe if there were any litigations as regards your exercises you've done in the past, as regards structures pulled down and things like that? If there were, how have they been? Just briefly before going.
Well, there was no litigation. There was one litigation which didn't scale through, and for that there is none. As far as we are concerned, the people, the residents of Abuja, as like you said, they are educated, but we also face problem with some who call themselves educated because they feel they can be able to do certain things at certain times without anything, and so at the end of the day, they become victims of such actions.
Okay, we hope there wouldn't be so much of that. Are you watching Good Morning Nigeria? We're discussing mitigating flood in Nigeria. We'll take a break now. The second segment of the program continues. Stay with us.
I'm the Chief Resident Engineer and Project Supervisor of the Second Niger Bridge Project. The Second Niger Bridge Project is a project that has been conceived for a very long time, but it has finally come to life during this present administration. This project has a lot of socio-economic benefits, and it has impacted positively on the lives of the host community, both in Anambra State and Delta State. The people are very happy. The host community, they partnered with us because apart from the social benefits, indigenes are also employed on this project. We can see how their lives are being improved.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Do you run a breast or cervical cancer service? Are you a private or public laboratory, clinic or hospital that offer any of breast imaging, cervical cancer screening, HPV vaccination, or other breast or cervical cancer services? Is your service a primary, secondary, or tertiary center located in any part of Nigeria, no matter how remotely located it is? If yes to any of these questions, then subscribe to the OCI Foundation's Save a Breast app and become accessible and visible to millions of Nigerians. It is all for free. To subscribe, just type the Save a Breast application form on Google or go to the OCI Foundation's page on www.ocifoundation.org and search for Save a Breast application form. Complete the form and submit. And let millions of Nigerians patronize you, all for free. Become part of the OCI Foundation's quest to tackle breast and cervical cancers in Nigeria. And join us to rise by lifting others.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back. It's Good Morning Nigeria with you from the NTA. And we have barely 20 or 25 minutes left on this program. Engineer Eze, sorry. My worry has always been one. That is, how do we, get the person at the grassroots, the person who is directly affected by this flood? Because whenever it happens, it is him at the world level, in the local government, in a certain state, that takes the brunt or feels this thing. Let's look at it from that point of view, because that's the worry. Haven't you been meeting, year in, year out, haven't you been meeting with states emergency management agencies or equivalents of your agency at the federal level from the state and subnationals and even the local governments? What have been their response? How have you been reacting to your own yearly predictions and unfortunately the yearly disasters we always incur in this country as a result of flood?
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe I will try as much as possible to be direct this time.
Please.
Ours is, we are a research-based organization. We see ahead of time using scientific tools and make our predictions. And going by the standard World Meteorological Organization, WMO standard, if your prediction is up to 70%, you are said to be accurate. It's accurate prediction. Now, when we make our prediction, we send the messages to the states. There are 3 types of government: federal, state, and local government. It is about that once this thing gets to the state governments, they should run with it, get to the local governments. As we speak, people in the National Assembly, governors, they are political at this point in time. In fact, if I open my phone, I was asked to give names of about 3 women in my immediate community that will participate in candidate sensitization activities for politics. So it should also be done with regards to our environment. When we get the information down to the states, let it go to local governments. We wrote a letter 2016 to visit the states to tell them this is what is going to happen here. Because we look at the states after our prediction, which are the ones that are very critical. You don't have the resources to go everywhere. The person said, don't come. That's the chief executive for the emergency management agency in the state. The following year, 2018,
what was the reason or how reason?
When we have relief, we should bring them relief. Oh, that's answer given to me. 2018, it was critical. We sent our zonal coordinator to go and meet with him with the letters to be given to the local governments that are involved, that are affected, will be affected, and money to be given to the chiefs to enable them to come to the city center where we do sensitization. These things were rejected.
Rejected?
Yes.
All right.
Now, we went ahead to do our program there. The head person that attended was one director of water resources in the one ministry that came. The rest were students in the university, federal university around that area. Maybe we left the 28th, 27th. That was the major disaster. That's July of that year, July. Trust the journalists. They said, former vice president's village, to draw attention, that's the front page. Community has collapsed due to flood. CBN governors, former CBN governors, underwater. The 7th governor, his village is underwater, flood. Mention these 3 personalities: former VP, former CBN governor, current 7th governor. Now, just this year, in fact, last year, my agency commissioned a renowned consultant to carry out flood vulnerability mapping of Hadikulu Area 6, what we call Hadikulu Area 6, Southwest, and part of Edo State, the 6 Southwest states and Edo. It was a detailed work of international standard. And then when we do it, we pick a day or 2 at one of the states in that particular area. Bring all the stakeholders, professionals, and government officials. Let us tell you, come and critique what we have done. This is what is going to happen. This is what you should do. We wrote to the governors, wrote to the commissioners in charge, water resources, environment, permanent secretaries. We wrote to all of them. And we chose a state among these 7 states, Southwest and Edo, to host this event. Because of personal relationship or knowing some of them that are there, I wrote a letter. Please, we are coming to your states to tell you this flood. Then, I was in the city. I put up a call across because of the person's position in government. being schoolmate some time ago. The person called me saying that, I won't be there. That's the person's mandate, immediate mandate. Directly with the governor. He said, I won't be there. I'm going to Oshu tomorrow. You know what I'm going there for now? We have our election. Now, so many states in the southwest have been, especially Lagos State, and it is worrisome. Nobody is punished. Nobody is relieved of his duty. So we do the best we can. It is not for the sub-nationals, as we mentioned, to cascade our information. Growing up in the 60s, we have sanitary officials. You must wash your place after eating in the night because they could come to your house the following morning. This is used in pounding, akbo, and so on. You must clean it in the night. They cut grass so that, I don't know the way I told that if grass touches your body in the morning, if you are walking under the root of dews that fall, and maybe a leprous person has touched, it will touch. So they will cut all the bushes around the roads.
A clean environment.
Grass, it wasn't done by Lagos, headquarters then of Nigeria. So you don't expect any person from Abuja or my agency to go and begin to police my own, from Abuja, to go and police the state governor or community, do this and do that. Let the states take responsibility. Just as they do their politics, looking, canvassing for votes, let them apply the same energy, go to the grassroots, to the local government, to the councillorship locations. There's a missing link from sub-nationals.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think, like he said, I think there is need for advocacy by both the agencies responsible for predicting this, both the climate as well as the flood. In terms of flooding, NISA, and in terms of climate prediction, NIMET, they should be able to reach out to the state governments and then tell them the implications of their own activity. Most of them are overwhelmed, like he said, by some political functions. And those politics also, you can see politicians also pursuing them, advocating for them. I think we should also do the same. We should advocate for them to also understand that this is the implication of not taking an action. So if they do that, like for instance, I can cite the primary health care development. You find out that they go out and emphasize on the issue of polio as well as other diseases, and then they get the buy-in of the state governors, and that is exactly what we should also be doing. Otherwise they will just relax, and then when it happens they take relief and give to the people, and that is not the problem, and that is not the problem, and it is not the solution.
We're talking about peer review here.
Yes.
As I said earlier on, you are one of the states of the federation in that nomenclature. You're talking about peer review. Haven't you been meeting, because the meeting called by NIMET, this how it went, on your own per se, let's look at what you've been doing in your state so that I can learn and know my problems and some peer review, some kind of.
Like for the FCT we do, he is one of our resource persons. Anytime we put ourselves together, we bring him, tell us about the prediction you release on the FCT so that all the stakeholders will hear from the horse's mouth. And then we also call other experts to come and speak. So we do that at our own level. And it is expected as well that at the national level, the NEMA, who is also coordinating both human and material resources in fighting disaster, should also be able to coordinate and bring all the state emergency management agencies together and advocate and pass, because I believe the state emergency management agencies are the right tools for disaster risk reduction measures. NEMA cannot be in all the places. They can be at the state headquarters. But at the state level, where we have the state emergency management agencies, we have the local emergency management committees at the area councils, and we have even in the FCT cascaded it down to the wards. We have given them a role that they should play, and then report back to the local emergency management committee, and then local emergency management committee report back to us. Then if we can have such structure at the national level, NEMA coordinating, I think we are. And I think NEMA, we are doing that now. We are putting up a conference together with NEMA of all the state emergency management agencies, whereby all the states emergency management agencies will come and then we'll talk and then identify the gaps. From there, the NEMA will take over and push it.
You're talking about states and not taking action on alerts given by the relevant agencies when it comes to flooding. It seems like most times they just wait for you to come and spoon feed them.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, and having listened to the discussion and the position of my colleagues, I believe what is still lacking is political will. If you talk about State Emergency Management Agency, I've been around NEMA for 22 years.
Wow.
So, this advocacy we talk about has been on the front burner of the agency. When we started, some still don't even know what emergency management is. We go out to identification of bodies that can do that job. Some started establishment. You'll be shocked that in Nigeria there are state emergency management agencies that are manned by just 2 or 3 persons. You can quote me.
The whole state.
Yes. And this body that is being manned by these 3 persons don't have one healer that is functional. So, if NEMA takes their advocacy to SEMA and stakeholders, who cascade it to the local government area? When the man at SEMA in the state is not mobile, when we go for assessment in NEMA, we use our facility to convey state officials to area of assessment. So, the issue of advocacy has to be backed up by political will. It is the political will from the states that will help us to drive this point home. The predictions are there. NEMA do advocacy, NEMA do collaboration, NEMA call for meetings, but who does the final job at the state level? So, we need to look at that very critically. We will not rest on our oars. We'll keep talking to states. Is on our ground board by the DG of NEMA, Mustafa Ahmed Habib, to visit most of the states to advocate for establishment of functional state emergency management, because it's not enough for you to just have someone. It must be functional so that it can live up to its expectation. Once these are there, the flow will be seamless of information, of even resources that are deployed to the state. So I will still advocate for good and strong political will by our leaders.
To have strong and functional SEMA.
Yes.
Down you have the local committee. Down you have the ward committee. And down you have the family unit. Let's hear from Hamza Mohammed, who incidentally or coincidentally is the senior special assistant to the governor of Jigawa on community and social inclusion. How has this played out, especially looking at this office of yours, which is now directly connected to what you've just said, social inclusion? The people of the grassroots need to be included in, in policy making, in addressing, in mitigating, in everything about that which affects them directly, especially a disaster like flood. How have you been addressing this, and how has Jigawa been responding to your address or to your own efforts?
Thank you. Issue to do with inclusion, it is very important everywhere in the world of today. And in the issue to do with flooding, the more we receive such kind of message for the expected or prediction of flooding in the state every year from the NIMET and NISA and also the National Emergency Management Agency, we used to collaborate with all relevant stakeholders from the state down to local government, communities, and even with traditional institutions. We used to invite them, hold a meeting together with them, discuss with them, and to make them about the expectation or prediction of the flooding, so that the people may be aware on the situation and to be prepared on the expected flooding that we are expecting to be experiencing in yearly. So this is what we have been doing, and most of the time we used to discuss with civil society groups for them to continue making advocacy visit to various areas and to give them sensitization on how to avoid most especially making construction or buildings around the waterways open waterfront areas. So, and also encourage people to work together in a team with the government in the effort of the government that's supporting the communities, more especially self-help groups, to have central working for the dredging of the drainage inside the cities. So in order to move all the deposit inside the drainages, so that if we are working with this to ensure all the such kind of the problems that may cause the damages to create flooding in the communities will be removed in the areas of the state. So we are working hand in hand with both the groups and all the key stakeholders to ensure the installation make an impact on reducing the flooding within our communities in the state.
Okay, Hamza Mohammed, SSA Community and Social Inclusion and Chairman Jigawa State Flood Control Committee. Thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria. We loved your insight there.
Thank you.
Okay, coming back to the studio, let's have your final thoughts briefly in 30 seconds. What next and how far?
Individuals should take responsibility in terms of how we manage our waste. We have appealed to the state government, down to the local government chairman, to also be part of this movement. And for us as an agency, we look forward to seeing our prediction being translated into action at the state levels where these events occur. For now, we are still moving, we are still expecting river flooding. Rivers Niger and Benue, we don't know what is going to happen before the end of this August. And September is the peak, actually. So those have to be prepared.
30 seconds.
Well, I think we need to bring everybody, every stakeholder together, and then try as much as possible to take ownership of our environment. We shouldn't allow the environment to be taken over by the negativities of the climate change. As soon as we take over the environment, that means everybody is involved, the town planner, the estate managers and estate developers, everybody involved, then we'll be able to have a very good environment, and we will not allow anybody to come up and build waterways or dump refuse as we are seeing, so that we can really talk the talk.
In 30 seconds, your final thought.
Thank you very much. Disaster management is everybody's business. All of us must prepare to take action, because one person in action is going to affect other people who are involved in the disaster management cycle. We look forward to our leaders taking the right political way to ensure that disaster management is enshrined in our daily activity. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen. We have come, we have seen, we've talked, but we haven't conquered yet. And it seems we are going to keep moving with that. Mitigating flood in Nigeria will be a continuous conversation. And because there are lots of issues we didn't talk about. We've been doing one thing, year in, year out. We haven't talked about research on this regard. What do we do differently now? And then what about the environment? Have we been taking care of it so much? And what about the poverty and things like that? So we'll look at that maybe in a subsequent edition of this very topic. And Good Morning Nigeria. And we thank you so much once again. Let's now have a bit of support before we round up.
Former Remo Stars coach Benga Ogunbote has agreed to join Shooting Stars of Ibadan ahead of the 2022-2023 campaign. The experienced gaffer left Remo Stars following the expiration of his contract at the end of last season. Ogunbote, according to reports, has now agreed in personal terms with the Oluyole Warriors and will sign a 2-year contract. Shooting Stars moved for the former Aimba manager to join them after Edith Ogoy vacated the position last week. Ogumboto, who led Remo Stars to a third-place finish in the just-concluded NPFL season, is not new to the new environment, as he once managed the Oluyole Warriors in the past. Shooting Stars Football Club is expected to make an official announcement in the coming days. Meanwhile, former Ghana captain Asamoah Gyan is targeting a return to the Black Stars for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Gyan's last appearance for the Black Stars was in 2019, and he last played a competitive game in May 2021 when he featured for the Legon Cities against Wafa in the Ghana Premier League. Months later, he terminated his contract with the Accra-based club. But in an interview with BBC, Gyan dispelled claims of retirement, suggesting he has unfinished business, especially with the Black Stars.
That's what's update. Our guests are still in the studio and we have to let them go because it's time. Idris Abbas, Director General, FCT Emergency Management Agency. Thank you so much for your insight into our conversation.
Thank you.
Dr. Olumode Abdullahi Bandele, his Director Special Duties, NEMA. Thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me.
Engineer Clement Inze, DG Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency, NISA. Thank you as usual for your contribution to our conversation.
Thanks for the moment.
Thank you so much. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Join us for another edition tomorrow. I am Jumbo. Yes.
And I'm Mr. Badabos. See you again.
Days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTAI. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile device to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International. Your window to the world.
What does it take to get ahead in today's world? To get your dream job, the perfect girl, even a table at your favorite dance club. It takes moving fast. It takes moving at the speed of 4G. With Intel 4G LTE, you've got it all covered. That's because you have access to super fast unlimited data that enables you move as fast as the speed of light. Now, no download is too heavy. No conversation too long. Nothing is impossible. Get Intel 4G LTE Advanced today and do so much more. Intel. Live more.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Now, the wise ones have said that man proposes, but God disposes. To some people, it's just a saying, but it's the truth. It's something that truly, truly happens, and I've seen it happening. Welcome. This is Thoughts for the Week with me, Cordelia Obe. Now, let's start off by, answering some of these questions. Do you have parents who maybe now have retired, have gone back to the village, maybe they're somewhere close to you, or your in-laws? You have? Now the next question is, how often do you reach out to them? How often do you care for them? Question. Think about that. There are people who believe that they do not owe their parents anything at all. That after all, did I beg you to call me from heaven? I was staying on my own jeje when you gave birth to me. Sending them to school, doing this and that. It's something you ought to have done for them because you fathered them or mothered them, so they have come to believe, so they have come to say. But our elders, are they very happy with this? Not so. Let me share a story with you that our elders shared with us. The story of the woodpecker. The woodpecker is a bird that digs very well into wood and all that. It digs very well. At a point, the old mother had wanted to see him. Oh, I'll see her later, I'll see her later, I'll see her later. She kept saying that, procrastinating. And then the woodpecker had this very beautiful plan that whenever the old mother dies, he was going to dig a very beautiful grave for the mother using his very powerful beak. And alas, the mother died. And the woodpecker, on that very day of the burial, had a big ball on his beak. And so, the woodpecker could not do what he had dreamt of doing, digging a big grave for the mother. Our elders say, if your relation is dancing well in an arena, but you do not have money to dawdle on him, your hearty cheers would do. Put simply, you may not have much to give to your parents right now, but your encouragement, talking to them, talking with them, visiting them when you can, would go a long way. It will be like you are cheering them on for all the work they've done. Come to see that in this region, and maybe other parts of the world, I don't know about them, I'll speak about this region. You'll find that when somebody dies, an old man, woman dies, you find everybody rallying around the children trying to raise money to do what? To go and modify their home house, or to try and build a house before they can bury their loved ones. That can be very painful, especially when they were alive, you didn't do anything at all for them. Now let me share some of these quotes with you. To care for those who once cared for you is one of the highest honors. Parents, they didn't leave you when you were young, so don't leave them when they are old. So, our thoughts for the week. Are you one of those who believe that your parents, you do not owe them anything when they become old and all retired because they did what they had to do for you because they gave birth to you and so on? Till I come your way again, do think about these things and remember that what goes around comes around. My name is Cordelia Obe. Take care.